Rachel, how are you over there?
Am I on the camera?
Yeah, you haven't looked. I feel you're looking over at us.
Oh,
I'm not looking at either.
I'm
of you.
not, but I can see it in the peripheral.
we're really going to do this? Are we
Yeah.
like, so we're broadcasting to the people?
Yeah, so this is like, okay, so this is, you're looking at us again, aren't you? Yeah, there you go.
Rachel can't. She can't
She
go without
do
it.
Okay, so we're talking to an audience of no fans, basically.
This is like baseball.
It's like sports.
Yeah, so, okay, go ahead. And all this is going to be a camera-only view. I don't like it.
What do we, this is horrible. We can't do this.
No, we're back. We're back.
Okay,
we're
we're
back.
back.
I felt weird, too. I felt weird, too.
I did not like it.
Imagine how actual broadcasters feel when they do that.
Where they
know?
stare at that camera?
But they do kind of.
Yeah, they have to stare at the
you're
camera
right,
the
you're
whole
right.
time.
They do.
Yeah. So when
Not
you
much, though.
when you speak, maybe for this first one, you have to talk to the camera.
And not. No.
Why are we making these rules?
That's how it goes.
This is my first coffee buzz.
Yeah, that's true. We'll wait a few. We'll let you get your feet wet a little bit. Rachel, hey, yeah.
Welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
Hey.
You know, I've had a few really cool firsts in my life, but I think first ever coffee buzz, that's got to be the best.
Don't you
That's the top.
patronize us now.
That's the top.
Wow.
This
This
is an
is
honor.
it.
This is an honor.
People travel great lengths to do this.
An honor and a privilege.
Well, then let's let it ride. Let's see how it's the hot seat over there.
Hit
You
us,
ready?
Noli.
Go ahead.
Is there anything you do that isn't just an educated guess?
Is there anything that you do that isn't just an educated guess?
Yeah.
Wow.
God, you gonna do more of this week, huh?
You go first. That's
Dang
how it
it.
works. That's a good question for you, too. No, could you give a little door close, too, so we don't have the lawnmower going on in the background? You guys hear that? Go ahead.
I have this thing called the 5-second rule. Is that why you're saying that?
Well, I feel like you're an educated, responsive person. I feel like you're very educated.
And why you do what you
It's
do.
a high compliment.
Yeah.
It's a high
I've
compliment.
thought about this quite a bit. Like, so the educated guess, that could go many different ways, of course, but I've traveled a lot, and I know a lot of people say they've traveled a lot, but I mean, I've moved 15 times. I've lived in 15 different cities, and I've traveled all over the world just traveling.
It's a lot.
And so I get these opportunities to get people's first impressions over and over and over again, and then I see how they play out as people. And so, like, over time, I've developed what I like to call the 5-second rule, which is you should know everything you need to know about a person in 5 seconds of meeting them. And that could mean, 5 seconds is metaphorical. You could be a minute or 5 minutes, or just like your first impression. I really think you should be able to tell.
So it's 5 seconds unless you can't tell.
No, I'm just saying, like, your first, your first interaction.
First moment.
So quick
Yes.
segue. How long give me a range of your first impressions. Like, have you nailed someone in 5 seconds, or has it taken
Yes.
you sometimes?
Sometimes I think the way they walk, you can tell.
How long has your longest first impression taken?
Well, I mean, like, it could be, it's your first interaction.
Okay.
But honestly, it's like, I think honestly sometimes by the way someone walks, I can tell like what they're going to be like. But I'm like, why is it that I can do this and not everyone can? And everyone thinks, oh, I have a good read on people. But I'm telling you, it's uncanny how I can just like know about how something's going to turn out. And I think it's just because I've had these opportunities so many times, because I've met new people so much. I mean, ungodly amounts of times I've met new people.
Have you been wrong? Yeah.
Okay, so I have
Be
been
humble
wrong.
here.
Yeah.
I have been wrong. I
Yeah.
told
Okay.
you. I mean, I've been wrong about an ex-boyfriend, really wrong.
Okay.
But really like crazily wrong. However, of course, I looked back and like literally on the first interaction, there was something weird, and I won't go into detail, but there's something weird about the first interaction we had, and I just dismissed it. And he covered himself extremely well, and then never, basically buried it and never came up again, ever. And then I look back on that very first time that I was like, that's not right. Like, something's off it's not matching up with everything else that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And then 2.5 years later, I was like, I should have known. Like, day one, the first time that we went out, I was like, I should have known this was going to happen.
How about this one for the room? You meet somebody and you know they're not who that person is, but you want them to be that person. So you
See the things.
go with it, even though you know they're not actually
that's
that
what I'm
person.
saying.
So you try to
Then
convince yourself
actually-
they are that person.
Then actually the 5-second rule did work. You just ignored it. I think it works every
Ooh,
time.
Nice.
I think
Okay.
it works. The rule applies every single time, but you choose to ignore what you're seeing. So you're making this educated guess, and I guarantee you're guessing right. It's actually like in our nature to understand, like if we can like feel people's energy, but we've suppressed that and ignored it so much that we like lose the ability to like hear ourselves think, or to feel that like there's something not right here, you know, or I really like this. Like we've just ignored it.
Okay. Do you have something?
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say,
I'm still
can you
digesting
have
this.
the 5-second rule without talking?
Yes.
Because that's the energy, right?
Absolutely.
So then let's say you have a 5-second rule. You meet somebody, you're interviewing them, they answer the questions all right.
Okay, but also, I mean, back up just one. If I see, we've talked about this before, and any listener is going to think we're absolutely insane, but like people who mouth breathe.
Can't trust them. What do you do to them, Dave? What do you do to mouth breathers?
You put them down.
You put them down.
But honestly, yeah, like
You can't trust mouth
This
breathers.
is a good question. But then, don't you think
That's why I walk on.
can't people like surprise you though? Like you're probably a very intuitive person. Some people are not as intuitive as you. You're obviously, but some people can kind of be projecting an energy because they want to make a good impression. And you know, I think after a while, after maybe some learning and some comfort, maybe you can come to realize, oh my, maybe I was,
But you should be able to see through. If somebody's just projecting something and it's not really authentic, you
Sure.
should be able to see through that.
Yeah, but then
there's
you're not.
little,
But
like,
then you're not even
nuances.
sure about what's really there. So isn't it then your responsibility? Not your responsibility, but if you do care, then you can continue to kind of peel back the layers and say, okay, well, who is this person really? If you care to do it. If not, there can be dismissed.
Like you could almost where I could see where I could see where Dave's coming here. Where I could see where Dave's coming here is, I meet you, and I know you're a good person, or I would like you, but I know you're not being who you are, so I got to keep giving you more time, and then that could feed into your. I feel this
Sure.
person is right, but
yeah.
but they're just not giving me themselves yet.
I mean,
so I got to give them more time.
There's plenty of people in my life, actually even friends, that I think that about. It's not that this person is a bad person or a good person. It's simply understanding that they might be going through something, or that they, that they're insecure about something, or they're going through a process in their life.
That would be energy, right?
Yeah, like it's not like, ooh, oh yeah, I can vet people and then I never talk to them again. It's just like, okay, I can get a read, like something here, like
That's
you're
good.
a little insecure, or you're going through an identity crisis, or you're just not quite hitting your stride in life, whatever it is. It's just being able to read.
Another follow-up. Has there ever been a time where you have gone, oh boy, I don't really know if I like the impression that I gave during that thing? Or do you always deliver the true Rachel? The Rachel that you want to deliver?
Yeah. That's a great question. That's a great question.
I think that I don't know. I mean, you know me pretty well. You know me like secondarily pretty well.
Yeah.
Is that I feel like I wear everything on my sleeve, a lot of things on my sleeve, So I try to do that, but I know there's been 2 times in my life where I know I've gone through like a depression where but in that moment I was in a depression. So I was exactly who I was, even if I wasn't really like vibrant and whatever, like I was going through a depression, and somebody who's really intuitive goes, I think I really like her, but like she's going through something.
Sure.
I think that when you travel a lot, the fortunate side of it, I don't think I've traveled. I know I haven't traveled as much as you two have. I mean, I've lived a lot of places, but this is this is 3 people who have traveled a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the 3 of us have traveled a ton across the whole world, right?
Yeah.
So I think what I mean by that is I don't think we've been in positions where we can't be ourselves. Because when you are traveling, you're sort of at the mercy of where you're at. Like you got to be able to get to yourself quicker, because you can't waste time when you travel, when you move places.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, I mean, when you just get to meet people, like you can't waste that time. So you have to have that, and I would kind of segue back to your point of, yourself more.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're depressed, if you can know that you're depressed, you have a better chance of getting out of the depression.
Oh, I knew it.
Yeah.
Second time. First time I didn't. I was really young in college. Second time, I was like, I'm in a depression, and I can't get. I'm in a situation where I cannot get out of it at the moment, and I was I was gonna get out of it, but I was like, cool, I'm depressed,
Yeah. I just
Sorry.
need to battle through this. So I guess the answer is, I don't remember the question. Do you remember the question?
I think it was well answered.
Can you
Is everything an educated guess?
Well, is there anything you do that you don't guess with, or you don't? Is there anything you do that you don't guess about?
In short, my
Hydrate.
answer. Yeah, my answer would be. In short,
I don't guess with that.
In short, I would say no. I think everything you do is with an educated guess, because but you're not perceiving it as a guess. You're perceiving it as, this is what I have learned to be right through the way that I've educated myself. And take out, a lot of people will hear education there and think actual education. Just look at that as like life in general, as a total education. And I would think the goal would be to optimize your choices through the previous education you've had in your life to make the best, which would be choice, but you don't know what that choice is going to turn into, therefore it becomes a guess.
Man, we could go for an hour just on this topic.
That's my short answer.
Yeah, you could keep. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Is that a good one?
Yeah, no.
Do we like that rabbit hole?
I liked that. Yeah,
I
liked that. That was fun to go down. It's a good one.
Yeah, isn't it the Mel Robbins 5-second rule?
It's one of her things.
Something to be there.
Really?
There's also a
I thought I made
5-second
that
rule
up.
when you drop your food on the.
Depends on where you're at in the world, but
You have 5 seconds to make an educated guess. Are you
got
gonna
5
eat
seconds
that
to button up that shirt before I chirp you.
Are you going to eat that grape? You know what's funny about that is I was walking up here hoping I was like, why am I wearing a buttoned up shirt? But it was what was on my bed when I walked downstairs. Go ahead, Noel.
Is it better to be kind or honest?
oh,
Is it better to be kind or honest? I think the powerful answer is like the immediate gut answer is to say honest.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I also think that being honest all the time is great, but I also think you can do harm by being honest all the time.
You can't be both.
You can't be both.
Is that part of the question?
Overall, what's it better to be? Like, what's the 51% answer?
I think the 51er for me is honest. You gotta be honest, 51er. I like how you gave the ratio though. If you would have said 100 to 0, I would not have been happy.
That's an out. That was an easy out, no?
Just so wishy-washy on this. I think
Really?
I think that you can. There's different degrees of honesty. I mean, you can like blast someone with honesty, but there's also a nice way to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kind way to be honest. You don't have to be like, meh, you know. Like,
Yeah.
There's a way to deliver honesty in a gentle, loving way. So if we're going to go 51% honesty, let's just make sure that we're being honest in a way it comes from a place of love and not a place of judgment.
I agree. I think you can even be tough honest, and the person could know that you love them so much with that honesty that it could be even seen as kind. That was kind of you to tell me that.
Okay, look, I'm gonna lay it on you guys. If I see a girl,
She's gonna be honest with us.
if I see a girl out at a bar, and she like has something like she has makeup running down her face or whatever, a stranger, I will stop her and be like, "Hey, I've got to tell you this. You have makeup.
Huge
right?"
booger right here.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny how my mic's have.
There we go.
Well, we told you
We're
we
back.
bought these a few years ago. You know,
We're back.
Don't ruin it.
So
You got to earn it over there.
So wouldn't the kind thing? But the kind thing to do probably wouldn't be to not say something.
yeah. You know what? Are you trying to cut me out?
Nolan, hand her your mic.
Are you trying to cut me out?
Give her your mic. Whenever we have difficulties, we just hand it over to Noel.
How are we doing now?
Now try.
Are we okay?
Yeah, there we go.
Now we go.
I think being honest is being kind. But I think you have a really great point of like the timing in which you deliver it, like when, so if you know a friend is going through something and you're like, man, he's going through something, you don't need to tell him right in the moment. You probably just like wait for the right time to tell him, even if it takes a couple of months, or like the right conversation to pop up where you can say it. So the timing and the way you say it obviously is important, but I'm going to say I'm like more like 87% honest
I would say it's fair on the whole over your whole life experience. You know, these aren't like acute moments. There are definitely acute moments where you got to be just kind to someone. That's what they need, or you know. But I think on the whole, if you're going to put the more, I think that we can agree. Carrying more of an honesty is going to suit you better.
It's even yourself personally. I mean, imagine having to not be honest all the time so that you can come off as kind. How much that would bother you? Because then you'd be second guessing all that. You'd be questioning all the things you said. Or was I honest with that person?
And just think about the friends. Like, think about the coaches, the friends, the people in your life. Like, you never look back and you're like, man, I really liked that coach that just lied to me. You know, really liked, you know.
So nice.
So, yeah, like, you always like the coaches who just tell you the truth. You like the friends who can pull you aside and be like, hey, you're going through something, you can't see it, or this girl you're dating, you like the people who tell you, even if it doesn't feel good in the moment, you look back and think like, I'm so glad somebody could tell me that there was something on my face that I couldn't see, you know?
You booger.
Yeah, that was very kind of you.
I think that was answered. I think that was answered.
Yeah, we did it.
I like that.
We did it.
I think that one's
okay,
mine.
So if you were hiring a new person, would you rather hire someone who's never failed in the past or has failed in the past?
That mic is just not going to work well. So if you were hiring somebody, the question is, Noel?
Would you rather hire somebody who's never failed in the past or has failed in the past?
Okay, if you were hiring somebody, would you hire somebody who has not failed in the past or who has failed in the past? You want to take it?
I mean, it's on a T. It's on a T.
This one's
it's too easy.
This is T work.
Yeah, go ahead, Harv.
Well, you have a good perspective on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that I'm going to say the same thing you're going to say, but you have more of a history of actually doing this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Failing. I know. I failed a lot.
Well, no, you have an actual history of being in the position. Like, I don't have a big history of having opportunity of people being in front of me and then making a choice on whether or not I'm going to hire them.
Oh, yeah. No. I always, like, I seek out people who have had, like, massive and utter failures in their life. Mm-hmm. And who've come back from them. Or, like, not just failure. Failure is a very general word to me. It's like huge struggles, or they've, you know, lost somebody important in their life, or they've, you know, been cut and released, and, you know, like, just really tough things. I 100% look for those people simply based off of the fact that they're going to have, it's not about the actual, you know, act of whatever happened. It's about they've been through something and pulled themselves out of it. You know, and then that applies to literally everything in your life.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of finish it up too, because I think all three of us have pretty cool stories in the sense of where we could bring up some massive failures. I think that you have anyone you've met who has done anything has failed tremendously at one point or another, because that comes with like the act of courage at some point in your life. Like, you had to make some courageous act. And there's no way you're not failing on that mission. Like, there's just, I don't know if there's an actual medical or scientific literature backing that up, but I can't think of one person I've met in my life who I would admire or look at as doing something that is really cool or special or important that doesn't have a massive background failure along that path.
Finally, a nice layup question, Noli.
Yeah.
I always remember my mom, she would always say, you know, I don't really ever want to, not to be too judgmental, but spend a lot of time or be involved with someone who hasn't gone through some major hardships in life. Mm-hmm. She's like, I can't identify. It's hard to be with someone and who's, I don't know, there's some people with more cushier existences. I mean, everybody has their own hardships, but I mean, the people you tend to gravitate with are, you know, the people who feel kind of the same as you when it comes to those major setbacks in life. And they're the people that inspire you and challenge you and help you grow. And I think that even without, you know, I mean, I know a lot of Marty's failures. You don't really know any of mine. But I just know that you've tried and failed. And you can feel that in a person. Yeah. And resilience is just a wonderful quality. And
there is research on this. Resilient, yeah, grit and resilience.
Right?
Yeah.
Angela Duckworth.
Yeah.
But is that the answer to this question? Like what Dave's saying? Is the research someone who fails a lot? Or
Well,
is it just
yeah,
resilience?
Well, that's what makes someone gritty, is when they've had to stick something out for a really long time. She talks about this in the book, but it's like basically the way that you can, and I use this as part of like a hiring process when I'm interviewing people to hire them. I use the book Grit and kind of reverse engineer and ask them questions that relate to what she says makes someone gritty, which intuitively we all understand. It's like you go through something hard, you keep going. But she lays out a really nice way of like being able to identify certain people without knowing them for too long.
How about this? Like when you ask somebody a question about this, isn't like a big, huge factor the way in which they describe said failure or setback? That's, for me, it's a big one. Because there's a lot of people who maybe remain bitter or play the victim or have an excuse, as opposed to those who have accepted it, humbled themselves, remained in it, gotten better, and have a more open view to life. I think that's even as important.
The way they speak.
Because most people fail, have setbacks, but how do they? If you're talking about strictly a hiring process, how do they describe it? How do they talk about it?
Yeah.
Are they still harboring, like, you know what I mean? You understand?
How they talk about it might just be an indicator of how much reflection they've done on that moment. So it's not, they might get there eventually, but it just tells you where they're at in their process.
So is that a factor for you though when you're listening to somebody?
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay.
I just wanted to kind of.
Yeah. Oh, we got a bonus.
Looking for a lawyer or a personal driver or something like that.
Lawyer, personal driver, or something like that. Those were Nolan's.
Just a fun side. I was curious about that.
Like if they failed a bunch?
Like if they have one accident or their win record isn't perfect.
So if the lawyer has
Would you rather have?
Well, I think that comes down to the 5-second rule.
Do I want a personal driver who's got a bunch of accidents?
Yeah, a bunch of it. No, yeah, but one accident.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
But you could argue.
A good segue. I don't know.
Yeah, you could argue, but.
Yeah, but you also don't play.
Yeah,
you also don't get to play professional hockey because you fail all the time. Like at the end of the day, like what failure are we talking about? Because we can put it in categories.
That's a good dig.
Would you hire a pitching coach who, dealt with anxiety and the yips and got released and all that's like, or me?
Here's what I would say to that. Here's what I would say to that. I would, if they, truthfully, being honest, I would hire them if they had a track record of helping other people overcome that, or they themselves overcame that. Yeah. But someone who has anxiety, gets the yips, or has that thing and then never just crumbles to it and just falls down from it, that would be something where, well, no, because that just happened to you. I'm not, nothing bad.
Yeah.
Nothing, you know what I mean? Just being
honest. Don't get credit for going through the hard thing. You get credit for what happens after the hard thing.
Yeah, because you have to define the hard thing. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not good at sports and you fail a lot, you're just not good. You're just not going to play. We can't run a company and go, he's a really good guy. He tries really hard. He fails a lot. But he's still trying. In our bottom line, yeah, we're in the red, but he trying. No, you'd go, you're done now.
There's a balance then.
Yeah, now if that person, if you can be honest with that person and go, you need to do better. You need to do better. And if that person can now overcome the failure, if you work on yourself, it's inevitable. You're going to improve. It's just period. At the end of the day, it's just period. It's we talked about working with young athletes the other day. If people want to be really good at sports, if there's by chance any young kids listening to this in any sport that you play, here's the secret. Figure out the couple things about that sport. We'll pick baseball. We'll pick hockey. I've never played hockey in my life. Put on skates, find a puck, figure out what side you shoot the fastest from, and then skate down and back on that ice as much as you can. And when you get a chance, shoot at the net as fast as you can, and do that as long as you possibly can. And if you fail, keep going if you love it. And as you do that, you're going to get better. And then hopefully someday you're playing and getting paid to do it if you want to.
Yeah.
But that's like, and if you play higher levels, you're going to have higher coaches. You're going to have better coaches. You're going to have more time. You're going to have more experiences. You're going to have more honest conversations. You're going to have, all these sort of things. But we can't look at failure as a free pass to just walk through life. And he fails a lot. If you have a bad driver and you fail a lot and you're a driver, like, no, I wouldn't hire you. If you're a lawyer and you win 30% of your cases, no, I need you to help me win this case. Like, I don't need you.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. Dave?
Yeah, it's fair. You guys are making great points. I got nothing to add. It's really good.
The good news is we get to talk about this all day. We just we'll press stop on this thing at some point. But
yeah, because I'm like, my wheels are spinning.
Yeah, it's a good conversation.
Because I'm constantly messing up. But
yeah, and you are, but you also are, but everyone is. So are you moving the needle forward?
But are you failing because like I'm putting myself in some really challenging situations. Mm-hmm. And so I'm bound to mess up because I'm like really asking a lot of myself from many angles, from a just like education standpoint, from a emotional standpoint, just like I'm pushing myself, so I'm bound to like mess up. Mm-hmm. So I would say that I probably fail more often than the normal person, but it's because I put myself in some really sticky situations.
Right.
And you got to pivot out of things.
Yes.
You can't just keep doing the same, whatever the Einstein thing is. You just keep doing the same thing. Fail. If you're going to get in an accident every other week, you probably shouldn't be a driver. Let's pivot into the next thing.
Yeah.
Let's learn some lessons from this, and then we'll move to the next thing. Because you can't just, I really want to hire somebody, that's come out of failure. You still seem resilient, even though you've gotten in 10 accidents.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and change your path a bit here.
Yeah, or at least change your practice.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you one real example, which, by the way, you should podcast this guy I'm talking about.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to share this. Okay, well, I'm going to be very general
the old
here.
Joe Smith
I'll be
man.
very general.
Mm-hmm.
I know a guy who, high school, senior year of high school, baseball player, senior year of high school, got in a car accident with his brother and lost his brother in the car accident. Mm-hmm. And then he himself was paralyzed and had to relearn how to walk. So he relearned how to walk. This was like his senior year, mid-year. They told him he would never play sports again, of course.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing that year, his senior season. He had crazy concussions, had to be flying to see doctors and stuff. Ended up playing his senior year and then went to junior college, went through a bunch of hard stuff, obviously like brain damage, etc. And then left junior college and they were like, you need to see how, somebody. He went to go see somebody, whatever, basically worked through it by himself with a mentor, ended up walking on a Division I baseball, really, really, really good Division I baseball program. And
you've told me about this
started,
guy.
Yep, yeah. You need to podcast him. Starting center fielder in the College World Series. So it's not like he doesn't get credit for getting in a car accident. He didn't choose to get in a car accident, he didn't choose the hard thing. There's this accidental growth, that happens, that everyone goes through hard things in their life. I call this unintentional and intentional growth. Everyone goes through hard things in their life. Sometimes it's unintentional and you accidentally stumble into something. You have car accident, COVID, hurricane, whatever. It's accidental. You didn't choose that hard thing. But still how you respond to it would get you credit. But the intentional growth is when you look at something, it's hard, you might fail, and you do it anyway. That I would give you credit for. When you try something really hard and you fail.
That's part of it, right?
Yes.
It also goes into what Dave. It also goes into what Dave says and how you speak of the failure.
Yeah.
Like the failure becomes my crutch. How many people who fail often or have failed aggressively use it as like a crutch? I mean, they don't. Very successful people don't use that as a crutch. They don't speak of it as 15 years ago I had this happen to me and I still can't.
Well, imagine that guy. Oh, I got in a car accident and then I can't do anything. And instead he just completely turned it around and he is an absolute beast.
What a story.
Yeah, it's awesome. We don't even know the guy and it's a sweet story.
Yeah, you just gave us the bare bones and it's wow.
Yeah, it's epic. It's great. Nails. Is that
one more?
We're going with
Oh
one?
gosh. Oh my god.
You want to go with one more?
Okay.
Within your own personal definition. Have you ever witnessed a miracle?
Have you ever witnessed a miracle? Miracles happen every day, don't they?
Yes.
Have you ever? I mean, my answer to that is yes. Can I pinpoint a miracle? I think that comes down to perception again, because
how you define a miracle.
Yeah, how you define a miracle, which is, have I witnessed the lake be, able to spread, and let me walk across it? Like, no, I haven't witnessed that, but I've witnessed some miracles.
Fair. Maybe not a full-blown biblical miracle.
Yeah, maybe not that high,
but
but but at the same time, I have had some faith moments where I'm like, okay, that's a miracle, or that's something, or that's a sign.
I'll go with a real quick one here. In high school, we were driving with a group of buddies, and we were going up to Minneapolis to watch a lacrosse game. Got lost the whole time we were driving. So I was driving my old 94 Passat. Whole time we were driving, I heard the what are we doing? What the heck is that freaking noise, man? What's that noise? So we drive for 45 minutes. Finally, it was like, screw it. We're not going to the lacrosse game. Let's go back home. What the? And we're too stupid to pull over and check it out. Finally, we pull back on my street. My buddy finally looks out of his window, or looks out of my passenger window, and my front right tire is outside of the body of my car. We had driven for 45 minutes on one lug nut. 1 out of 4. And we're talking like 70 mile per hour driving down the highway, the whole way home, the whole way. Statistically, kind of miracle-ish. Right?
Statistically, I think that's a statistically significant miracle.
Did you not see smoke or flames or anything?
We were stupid, man. We were 16 and like,
you just wanted to go home.
Oh man, let's just get home. Oh, pull over. Let's see what that noise is. No, we're so dumb. Like, no, just keep going, man. We'll be fine.
Be fine.
It'll make it. I don't know what it is. Well, yeah. And then we finally, I was like, oh my gosh, could have killed. There was 4 of us in the car. Killed everybody.
Miracle.
Okay,
so,
I think
that's truthfully my little one there.
Yeah, in my own definition, I think, I woke up this morning, I was sitting on the chair, and I was like, my life's amazing. And Harvey was like, what happened? I was like, I don't know. I was sitting here, doing a report on a player, and I was like, how did this happen? I'm, doing a report on a player. I'm a hitting coach. It's just incredible.
Life is a miracle.
My life is a miracle.
I will say there are many days. And this is, again, maybe perception-wise. There are many days. I'd say within every week or so, I typically have a day where I wake up and I'll go, something awesome's going to happen. Like, I can feel it. Something's going to happen. And I feel this all often.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And something typically does happen. That's pretty awesome. And that's, I guess I think about that all the time. But then I would say maybe if I'm accepting that or thinking that, maybe things that people don't think are that awesome, to me, they go, that was awesome, and then I'd already knew that was going to happen. So that could maybe be my own personal miracles within the miracle. Because essentially, us being here is a miracle, statistically. You're
like, how, two good answers.
How did this, and again, like you said, not in the biblical sense, where something just appears out of, Jesus sits on our couch right now. It's like, but when you think about, all of the things that had to line up for me to be doing what I'm doing, for you to be doing what you're doing, for you to be doing what you're doing, and all 3 of us sitting here having a conversation about all this is actually the just incredible micro decisions that we have made along 100%. The way.
100%.
It's incredible.
I think about that. I think about that all the time.
We're here. We did it.
I think
we
about
made
that.
it. I'm on a coffee buzz.
Oh, look at Tom's haircut. That is beautiful. Look at that thing. Look at these guys.
Wow.
That is just
good. I saw him this morning. He looks good.
He does look good.
Wow.
It's
a good looking
fit. He's looking
That's
good.
Great. We got the nice acute, weird whatever instance, and then the general.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
great way to look at it.
Yeah, I'll finish it in the sense, and if you guys want to add on to it, because I do think about this very, very often when we talk about energy, 5 seconds, these sort of things. I feel like you can feel that. I feel like this whole podcast has been. I feel like all of us align, so we hang out. So it's sometimes when you get questions like this, you're trying to be a little bit different in your answer. Where I could kind of know what he's going to say or what you're going to say. So you try to steer the ship so you can get really broad with your answers. But I do think all the time, this is what's really fascinating to me about life. I do know if you just try, if you really intuitively think about what you want the whole thing, the whole miracle to look like, I really do believe that it is that. if you just really just trust that you can have that. And I'm just speaking about something that I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It's really hard to explain, but it's like if you want to have that life, you have it. It's just essentially, do you just want to have it?
Yeah.
And if you do allow yourself to have it, you just know things are going to happen. You know something in your life at some point or another. Like, it doesn't seem weird that we're all sitting here because you just knew that makes sense. Like, at some point that'll probably make sense.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about before we pressed play, when we first did our first podcast, and I still remember this to this day. Dave and I were super nervous about it, and Dave was we were looking out his balcony, and he goes, Harv, we're just all in this together. If we do a podcast, we're just going to meet a bunch of people. We'll learn a bunch of stuff. We just have to do it, and then now you're 200 podcasts later. We've traveled the world. We've podcasted people from around the world. We've met you. We've met all these people. We've done crazy, cool things. And you live a certain way. You learn a certain thing. You get excited every time you do one of these. And when people ask me all the time, like, we're about to start a podcast or I'm going to start a podcast, I always tell them, look, don't do anything but do the podcast. Don't think about anything. Just do the next podcast. Don't worry about your marketing. Don't worry about your viewership. Don't worry about getting the money for it. Just do the next podcast. And that next podcast forces you into that next miracle over and over and over again. But you have to do the podcast. And it's like, you have to quantify, why would you sit down 200 times and and try to get people to want to talk to you? I mean, that's 200. That's 200 moments of recording. But think about how many things have to take place to get people to want to talk to you, to be interested enough to talk to them. Like, that in itself is a miracle, in my opinion.
And you have to have faith that it will happen, as you said, but it might not be your time. Yeah. A lot of us are like, you get impatient,
or you're waiting on a miracle.
Yeah, or sometimes your timeline and God or the universe's timeline are a couple different things about when you want these things to happen. I want my life to look like this.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it look like this?
Yeah.
Stay the path.
And wouldn't that be not understanding what we were just talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, thinking it has to be that. Because if it has to be something, then you've now forgot the part of failure.
True.
You've now forgot the part of courageously deciding things. Because that's part of the bit. Like, part of the bit is sucking a lot.
I think, but people, the way that Nolan asked the question was like, in your definition of what a miracle is, and I think some people think the miracle is having that dream life, but I actually think a lot of times the miracle is just having the vision.
Yeah. Like,
the miracle is that the idea appeared in your mind. The miracle is like when somebody.
Great way to look at it.
The reason why I thought about this is like the whole reason why I'm a hitting coach, honestly, now is I can trace it back to 4 years ago. I was talking to a general manager, and I hadn't even thought about being a hitting coach, being a general manager, nothing. I was a strength coach, and he looked me in the eye. I'll never forget this moment. He looked me in the eye, and he goes, "Have you ever thought about being in the front office?" And I blurted out. I was like, "Yes." And then I was like, "Have I thought about being in the front office?" I didn't know.
I just did.
Yeah. And he said it, and I couldn't unsee it. He said, I saw it and I couldn't unsee it. And now,
a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
The fact that this seed was planted and I accepted the idea and saw it as possible, that was the miracle itself. It's not being a hitting coach. It's like just the idea that's planted in your head. The fact that I had that conversation with all the things that led up to that conversation, that's a story in itself. Like the fact that I was talking to this guy in the first place, that's the miracle. Is just like all of these the miracle is not the dream life. The miracle is all these little micro decisions that you make, these short conversations that plant the seed, and you're like, holy shit. That's a miracle. The miracle is you realizing that you could have your dream life.
Great perspective.
That's a great perspective. I think
Rachel's offered some great perspective.
I think that's a tie bow on it. I think that's a tie bow on it. And everyone who's listening, the vision you have, that's the miracle. Cheers.